Artificial intelligence is a major general purpose technology that is having already a significant impact on the economy and on society. There are applications, as you all know, right across industry, applications for business organisation, social relations and the relationship between citizens and governments. Most of the developments that we see have been, of course, based on deep learning, advances in deep learning technology. And we might consider that artificial intelligence is still in its infancy, although we have really no way of assessing this at this stage. But all of the questions that are being thrown up by artificial intelligence, and there are many, and the challenges that are being posed are complex ones. That is to say, they are not unidimensional. They are usually questions or challenges that involve the intersection of several different disciplines that we have seen in our old way of looking at the world. And this is one of the major, I think, policy questions that we need to confront: complexity. Now, not the least of the dimensions that we see is the impact of artificial intelligence on human invention and creativity. And those are two characteristics that have defined our species, of course, and that have shaped throughout history the nature of our societies and the nature of our economies. The idea of the current process, which started last year in 2019, is not so much that we develop answers that would be very good, but we don't have such ambitions at this stage, at any rate. Not so much that we develop answers to the multiple questions that are being posed and policy challenges that are being set, but that we do two things, really. First of all, that we seek to keep our understanding of the impact of artificial intelligence apace with the development of the technology. And that is very important, of course, because we're living in a world in which there is a tendency for technologies to get far out in front of our understanding of their social and economic impact. If we can succeed in maintaining a rough equivalence between our understanding of the impact and the development and evolution and deployment of the technology in such an important area as artificial intelligence, that of course would be extremely helpful. And the second premise really is that the best way to do that is through dialogue, and in particular international dialogue based on shared knowledge and understanding and the sharing of practices which will enable all of us to advance our understanding. As you're aware, in the process to date, which we started, as I mentioned, in 2019, we had a first conversation in September 2019. At that stage, we were seeking to develop the questions, seeking to see whether we were asking the right questions about the impact of artificial intelligence from a policy point of view on intellectual property, which has been there for many, many centuries now to serve human creativity and human invention. Following that conversation, we developed a draft issues paper coming out of the discussions, and we put that out for comments. We received over 250 comments from across the public and private sectors, and we issued subsequently in May of this year a revised issues paper. Now, in this second conversation, it is that issues paper which will be submitted to discussion. Let me also mention we have at the same time, at the request of the Member States, launched an AI and IP strategy clearing house, which is meant to be a repository, a convenient repository of information concerning the laws, regulations and strategies that are being adopted or have been adopted at the national level by states. And we're very pleased that over 40 member states have responded to this initiative, and we have information and data on artificial intelligence strategies and laws in over 40 countries, and we hope that this number will increase. There are, let me say as a final word, there are more issues than there is time available. And so we've had to make a division. And one of the important issues, fundamental issues, that we will not deal with in this conversation, but that we hope to deal with in the next conversation, is, of course, the development dimension. Now, it's a question of sequencing, but arguably you might say that in order to properly understand the development dimension, you need to have an understanding of the trends in the establishment of rights and obligations before you can see what the impact of those rights and obligations would be. But a third conversation dealing with those issues that cannot be dealt with in this conversation, these 3 days, will be held in November of this year, and that will be amongst the questions that we will be able to address at that stage.